Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech Informist. My name is JJ Hammond. We have another great show for you. Are you ready to be informed on the top tech news stories from around the world? Awesome special guest interviews, fun and lively commentary on the technological industry? Of course you are. Up first, our guest for this episode is a designer who is passionate about creating products that are beautiful, simple, and fun to use. He also enjoys hiking, coffee, me too, man. Dabbling in photography. He is attending the University of Washington in Seattle and majoring in human-centered design and engineering. The creative mind behind the theme we use for the techinformist.com, the one and only Scott Smith. Hello, Scott, and welcome to the show.
It's great to hear you.
It's great. It's great to hear you too, sir. However, this show would not be complete without my good friend, founder, editor-in-chief of STLTechTalk.com, producer of Codecast by STL Tech Talk, co-creator of STLTechSheet.com, our Women in Tech site, and the Tech Informist show and site, the uncanny Kevin Harbell. Say hello, Kevin.
What's up, everybody? Scott, how you doing this fine morning?
Doing great.
Good, good.
Awesome. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Tech Informist, Facebook, The Tech Informist, Google+, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. Also, check out our parent company, STLTechTalk.com. Download the STL Tech Talk app from Windows 8 and Phone 8 stores. Visit STLTechTalk.com to keep up with our tech news, our podcast, our Codecast, programming code, hands-on reviews, event coverage, and much, much more. Don't forget you can interact with the show by sending us feedback to contact@thetechinformist.com. And if you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room, and we'll do our best to answer those questions in a timely manner. Special thank yous go out to our last guest for the episode number 2, which was John Sonmez. Thank you so much. It was a great show, and thank you for just being awesome and overall supporting the show in one way or another. So let's go ahead and kick off the show with the reason why we're all here, and that's to talk with Scott. Kevin, you're up with our very first question.
All right. Scott, so everyone has a story excuse me, about what got them interested in technology. What is it that got you to where you are doing some of the things that you're doing today regarding being a web developer and a programmer?
Well, it's been a slow progression for me from just building a website to building a theme to starting to make plugins for that theme and doing support for it. So I've always been interested in technology, but it's been it came to a point where I decided I want to start making technology that other people use, making things that are really simple for others and fixing problems that I see people having with technology.
Awesome. So would you say that, I mean, what got you, though? What was your hook into, like, man, this is what I want to do?
I feel like the first iPad event, when the iPad came out, I was in high school at the time, and there was so much anticipation regarding its release, and I remember watching through the live blog of the keynote, and when the thing launched, the first day I was at the Apple Store, I was the first person in line. I didn't buy it because I didn't have the money, but holding that, I was like, I'd love to make something for this. I want to make things that work on this, and rather than kind of going the app route, I decided the web route, making web applications and websites people can work on any device, and I think that's a more interesting challenge right now than doing something with app design, although that's really fascinating too, but some other day.
It's really interesting to hear you say that. I mean, we've had several guests on both Codecast and STL Tech Talk that have talked about this, and I always ask that as a question because a lot of the listeners of the show, myself included, we wonder, what's the future look? What am I working towards? What the goal is. And a lot of the consensus is, start developing for web. Web's ubiquitous. It can be pushed down to devices. We're seeing, it was a problem a couple years ago about getting some good high-quality speeds to devices, so native apps were kind of a big deal. But now we see responsive themes, and we see a lot of, being able to write directly to the device, even though it's in a browser. So that's kind of cool and interesting to hear you say that, because a lot of people want to know, like, where and how and what should I do. And I think that's you're a good example of why you decided to start in this particular space. Now, tell me you have both your kidneys. You didn't sell
Yes.
one of those to get
No.
in there. Okay.
No, not yet. No, I made a theme. I sold a lot of my time.
No, right. Sure, absolutely. So, what is your thought process that went behind the Decode theme? Now, for our listeners, we want to make sure that they know for the techinformist.com website, we use your theme. What went behind your design process, and just walk us through a little bit of that.
Sure. So, I guess I'll dive into first a bit of the history. I started my own blog, Beyond the Code, which has like a specific meaning to me that isn't obvious to other people.
Okay.
But it's the idea of looking beyond the obvious. Beyond, a lot of people are focused on, the code, what language is something written in. I'm more interested in kind of the long view of things. How does everything work with each other? What's something that's not so obvious, not so such a small idea. I'm more focused on big ideas there, hopefully.
You'd really like Mark Miller. He's really into that too.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to him, but I need to. So.
Well, he's real big into the UI. It's
user experience and.
Yeah, very, very. So it's not. Yeah, so you're kind of like me. I mean, I'm an artist at heart. So like when I'm drawing, I'm always like, man, I wish I could just cut all the way to the end, like, and just like see the gorgeousness, right? Like.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and I got tired of how nitpicky people could be, especially when it came to technology. When I think it's more important to have a long view of things, not just look at maybe what's new with an iPhone, but where is this headed? What's the idea here? What's this going to look like down the road?
Right.
Because in 15 years, we're not going to think the iPhone 6 was, the best iPhone or the worst iPhone. I think it's more interesting to see, the seeds that were sown with iPhone 6, like Apple Pay or larger screens, responsibly sized apps.
Right.
So I've had this blog Decode. I wanted to make a theme for it. I ended up using WordPress for the blog. And after using some like Tumblr and WordPress.com, where you don't really get to use your own theme, I ended up making my own theme just by modifying an existing theme. And I realized that was actually quite slow. I felt like I didn't have control of my site, so I ended up rewriting the entire theme pretty much in a weekend. Based on the theme foundation underscores, which is actually maintained by a lot of automatic developers. Lots of themes use this, and it's a great way to. They call it the 10,000 hour theme. It's written by people who already know how to make themes, and gives you a great foundation for building any new theme. So through that process, I learned how to make a WordPress theme, and made something that was a lot leaner and meaner than what I had before. It was faster, and it felt like it was my own theme. It wasn't someone else's theme that I modified. It was something that I made. Then I had someone ask me on Twitter, can I use your theme? And I said, yes. You might not want to, though, because it was only for my blog. It said, like Scott Smith by Scott Smith, like right in the header. The social icons were, I had copy and pasted my, Twitter and Google Plus links. It was not something that anyone else would want to use, but I decided that's something I need to work on. I mean, it's in my best interest to, if I have something that people want to use, let them use it. So that began the process of turning Decode into a proper WordPress theme and submitting it to the theme directory.
Nice.
Yeah.
So walk us through a little bit. So for people who don't know, I would like to educate them a little bit, because that's what we do here. We inform people. Haha. So how did you start? Tell me the stacks. Where you started with the theme and HTML. Did you use Dreamweaver? I mean, I don't know. What did you use to like? So what's the layers like?
Well, yeah, I have to again reinforce underscores was a great I skipped the whole static HTML development. It started as a WordPress theme. It wasn't kind of a static template that I turned into a responsive one.
Okay.
Although that can be a good solution to take. The problem with that is when you're developing a theme, there's lots of different states things can be in. For example, Decode has little author cards below posts that people can use.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of, if someone has an image, then I need to add a class and move the text aside, leave room for an image. If the person doesn't have a link, well, I need to not leave space for that. So if you have a static template or just a static, maybe a Photoshop design, and you're trying to turn that into a WordPress theme, you really need more than that, because there are tons of different states things can be in. What if they don't have any posts? What if the post doesn't have a title, or doesn't have a featured image, or doesn't have any text? What if it's just a gallery? What does an excerpt look like if the only thing their post has is a bunch of galleries? So that's something that you really have to consider when you're making a theme, and something that's easy to forget when you're making like a Photoshop document or a static HTML site. So I dove straight into making a WordPress theme, and I don't use Dreamweaver. I use Coda, Sketch for all the vector icons.
Okay.
Yeah, there aren't actually any images in the theme. Well, there's some fallback ones for like IE8, but everything in there is vector, so I never have to worry about, oh, the new iPhone has a 3x display. Well, you're set because it's all vector.
That's
and that
awesome.
keeps
Nice.
it's really fast, and it lets me change things like the size and color of them, so that lets people kind of have a more personalizable blog.
And just a PSA, guys, watch out for Jetpack. Don't mess around with that too much, because it'll mess around with your mobile version of your site,
Yes.
and it's very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be frustrating for a theme dev too. It can break things in. It can break things in some unique ways, but I do rely on users a bit for testing, and that sounds worse than perhaps I mean. I do test Decode, but there are so many different ways to configure it,
Right.
to have things set up, that I try not to mess with what I've already done. I try to keep it lean and simple. That's a lot of what allows me to actually work on Decode. I try not to add a ton of stuff to it, because that makes testing a lot harder,
Right.
and especially for just one person making something, spending a lot of time testing isn't a great option. So I really do rely on people sending me emails, or posting on the support forums, or opening up a GitHub issue saying, hey, this doesn't work. And more often than not, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. And I fixed it in the next update. Here's a quick fix for now. So that's really helpful, and that kind of keeps bugs out of the theme. Just people emailing me and letting me know how something works with Jetpack enabled or whatever.
Nice.
So speaking on the fact that you are just doing this by yourself, can you see yourself in the future maybe getting a team of whether it's just 2, maybe 3 other people that are into doing this stuff, and creating different themes on a regular basis?
It's something I've thought about. The thing is, each one of those, when I start on with other people, first there's kind of an opportunity cost. If I'm working on this other theme, I can't work on Decode, or I couldn't start a different internship. So I want to be trying a lot of different things while I'm young, and then I can settle into a more routine job later. But I feel like if I teamed up with other people and we committed to making these, a series of WordPress themes, those would require support down the road. They require a certain amount of time regularly. It's not something where you can just set it up, code it, design it, build it, ship it, and
walk away.
Close the door. Yeah,
Right.
That's not a good experience for people. It's not something I want to be really involved in. If people are going to be, using this on their site, I think you have a responsibility to maintain it, to make sure that it's, especially with how fast the web is moving, that you are staying on top of what's new and what's coming out. So, and with WordPress releases every 4 months, those tend to not break things, but they allow you new opportunities. So you need to be involved with your theme pretty regularly. So even though I might take a break for a month or two here or there to work on other things, still it's a big commitment to make. So I would only make another theme if I was certain that that was the best thing to do, and if I was really ready to commit to a couple years maybe of support for it.
And you had the money.
And if it were to give me money, that would
all right.
Incentive.
So a couple of questions that I have on this particular point. So the audience who are maybe listening to the audio version don't know exactly how young you are. I'm a little jealous, I'm not going to lie, but in a good way, and I hope that you succeed from this moment and on forward. I love that. We've had several younger guys and gals on the shows that have talked about their experiences and being really focused and accomplishing tasks and stuff. One of the things that is interests me is this ability to so. For example, The Verge is a big site, right, or Engadget, and one of the things they do is you can, once you go to their site, you can pin that site's web link or whatever directly to, like, say, your Android home screen or your iPhone home screen or whatever, and it pushes through like an image, and it almost looks like an app because it has like the app icon. Do you have any want to do that for Decode?
I've considered doing that. The thing is that would require a few extra settings for people to set up. It's something I'm going to look at doing more in the future.
Okay.
But that works, I think, really well for something that is meant to be an app, to replace an app, at least for lack of a native app. But Decode is really mostly a blogging theme. That's mostly what people use it for. That or like a homepage sort of setup. Sure. And I don't find, like, my personal homepage does let you set it up as a home screen icon if you were to want to do that, and have my face on your home screen. So, but that doesn't really have a big use for it. I don't think anyone's ever done that except for me. So I think I'd like to add it for sites that do want to do that, but that requires extra image assets, and I don't want to ask everyone who's using Decode to add these extra image assets to kind of do that, because I don't think most people want to add a site to their home screen.
Right.
But
now, we talked a little bit before the show on some, kind of a future project that you're looking on working at. So go into a little detail about what you're considering doing with Decode and maybe some of the other projects you're looking at working on.
Mm-hmm. So many people have told me, oh, I'd love to pay for Decode, so I kind of set up a donate button, but I'd really like to provide people with more features if possible. And the thing is that each one of those features do have a cost. First, it's my time making the feature and then supporting it in the future, because I don't want to make something and then just throw it out there and I have to support it, especially if I'm going to. It's a big responsibility for me to give some people some code and say run this on your site, because that's their public image and I don't want to mess that up.
Right.
So I've considered making a premium theme. The problem with that is I'd end up having to maintain 2 code bases, and one would win out in the end, and that would probably be the premium one, because I could devote more time to that. I'm obviously getting money if I'm selling a premium theme. So while I want to do a premium theme, I don't want to leave behind all my users that are on the theme directory, because they're the people who kind of made Decode successful. So I've decided to kind of go along the in-app purchase route, like you see in the App Store.
That's what I was just thinking about when you were saying all that.
So if you're not familiar, in-app purchases in the App Store let you download a free app like I would say Overcast for listening to podcasts, and then add features to it for a small fee. And that's a really great model because it lets anyone download your theme or app or product, but if they really like it or want to support you or just want those features, they can pay for them. And it kind of keeps things simple, and it's a model that a lot of people understand. And it means that I get to develop one theme and keep that simple for users and keep that supported. So I decided to do something like Decode Plus, and it's a plugin that hooks into Decode and adds additional settings, additional features like changing the font size, different headers and sidebars, things that people have asked me for, but I don't want to put into Decode because that adds to the kind of support, the testing cost, and adds to the complexity. But I think it's a great incentive for people to give me money, and to if they want to have these features, they can buy them, and I think that that's a proven model and something that people will appreciate.
Right. I know we're pretty happy with Decode as is, so we're
a fan.
Look forward to
and lots of people are.
Is there a way that you can like track approximately how many websites or people are using your theme?
Without putting Google Analytics in everyone's site, I don't think that there is a great way for that. However, by default, Decode does give you it says Decode by Scott Smith at the bottom,
right?
And of course, I give people an option to turn that off. I don't know if it's on by default or not. Anyway,
I think it is.
It is? Okay. I got away with that. I'm pretty sure there's a rule against that. Anyway.
So you're like,
well,
win! No.
WordPress theme reviewers don't listen. Ignore that. But obviously that links to my site, and I have analytics on my site. So every site that does link that on, I can see, I can see where I'm getting referrals from. And so I don't like to look at numbers because that's usually looking at numbers starts to do one of two things: either make me depressed, no one's using this, or make me too prideful, everyone's using this. So I try not to look at the numbers too much. Sometimes people tell me, "Oh, Decode has this many downloads." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it does. Sure enough." But it's not something I want to be addicted to, so I don't look at it because I know that
refreshing.
Could be a weakness of mine. And
yeah, it's refreshing to hear you say that.
Right.
If I hear one more person that asks about numbers, I swear to God, I'm just gonna lose my mind. Anyway, so the reason why we kind of bring that up is, a lot of, especially programmers, and a lot of businesses and stuff like that, they always want to know, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? What are the numbers? And the numbers don't really always speak to exactly what the situation is, because there's outliers and there's conditions on statistics. I remember one of my statistics professors was like, people use numbers to lie, and numbers lie to people. It's not something good to focus on all the time. And I think that's a good approach that you have to that for sure. So for the sake of time, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5 to 10 years as far as project-wise, just all the above?
So I'll hit on it really quickly. I've worked freelance jobs, with I've interned with agencies, that do design, web design, and marketing, and a startup. So I've kind of those are kind of the big three. I don't know, maybe there's some weird hybrid between the two. There are agencies that also do their own products, but coming from, I've done a little bit of each of those, and each of those has their strengths and their weaknesses, but I found that I do really like working with a startup because you have, one or two products, and you're motivated by wanting to make those products better. Whereas with freelance or freelance design or working with an agency, it's really money-driven, and while that's acceptable and you need that, there's a market for that, and that's needed. It's not as fun to do because I like doing things not for the numbers, not for the money, but because I enjoy doing it. So that's why I don't look at the numbers, because that's not my motivation behind it. And so because of that, I've decided I really would like to work more with startups, building my own companies, if possible. And I think that lets you kind of be more self-motivated and not so numbers and money driven.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it
sounds like you're planning this all out right.
Yeah, it does. It really does. From two old guys. No, we made plenty of mistakes, brother man. So if you just have any questions, hey, what did you do so that I could not live like you? I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. So anyway, so that's what you want to do. So so are you interested in just when you say startups, are you talking about just blanket, say bio, or more like products, like smaller stuff like that, or I mean, go into that just a tad for us.
Yeah, sure. I'm really interested in kind of a products-focused company. Okay. Again, because I think that's just really, at least for me, it works out well because it helps me self-motivate. Mm-hmm. Wanting to make that product better, and when you finish something, it's like, great, what's next? Not let me wait for the client to respond, or let me see how this sells. It's just kind of a continuous cycle of making a product better. So I'm not necessarily interested only in technology companies, though, or startups. I'd really like to work with a broader range of startups, not just making web or internet things, although so far I have skill doing that. I'd rather, again, try more things, see what works, work with someone who's selling a physical product. I think that's something I'd really enjoy doing. And kind of move more into that space. Maybe I think the medical field is also one that it's right at a point where I'd like to see what happens when you hit that with more modern technology, with kind of products and services that are made for people, for humans, and not just for doctors or highly trained people.
Sure. So the wearables, you looking forward to that kind of evolution?
Yeah, and I think that has a lot of use in not just the medical space, but making technology something that's a much closer part of our lives, something that's sounds creepy, part of us. That's the only time I'll say that. Mm-hmm. But something that is not just usable but fashionable as well, and that's really powerful. So
you stoked about the Apple Watch?
Yeah, I'll be getting one. I think it's really cool for a first generation product. And again, I have the long view of it. I want to see what this is going to look like in 3 years after 3 product iterations. I want to see how they handle. I've heard some people say that you might be able to remove and replace the chip because the whole system's on a chip. And so I want to see what choices like that, how they impact the business down the line, and how competitors deal with that kind of integrated, vertically integrated system.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Well, keep in contact with us, and we'll do the same with you. We're big fans of both you, your product, and what you do and how you do it. We think, obviously, we're going to follow everything you do, and so that people can find more about you. Why don't you go ahead and inform our listeners where they can find you, where and what you're doing, and all the above.
Oh, sure. So I'm on Twitter at ScottSmith95. I'm on app.net if anyone still uses that. Let me know. At Scott Smith, I'm still on it. And my website is scotthsmith.com. Nice. I'd be impressed how hard it is to find good domain names with the last name of Smith.
Oh, yeah.
It's really rough. So that's why everything has a 95 appended. Anyway, so Twitter at ScottSmith95.
All right. Yeah, we'll make sure to have all that in the show notes where people can easily click on it and find you.
Great.
And we can't thank you enough for being on. Hopefully you had a lot of fun, and we'll make sure that more people find out about what it is you're doing so they can follow your journey, because I think it's beneficial for other people who are transitioning into this as their job, as programmers, coders, and all that kind of stuff. And I like your approach of looking at things in the long view. I really do, and I don't think people do that enough, and really sit down and say, hey, this is all part of a bigger process instead of just a real short-term thinking. And I like your approach to visual design as well. So I'm going to be a big fan going forward. So if you ever want to connect with us or come back on the show, the door is definitely open.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Yes.
Yeah, you too.
But that doesn't mean the show is over, everyone. Goodbye, Scott. What a good guest.
I know. I mean, to be that young and have such a nice product that's
Opportunities,
easy to
yeah.
use, it's very responsive, especially on mobile devices. It just looks beautiful. So head over to techinformist.com and take a look at it. Look at it on your mobile device and see how responsive it is.
Right.
And look what we've done with what he created.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, in the tradition of staying in a particular theme, why don't you go ahead and go first with your news story, sir?
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is we didn't get a chance to touch on this last week because of all the big Apple news. So today we're going to touch a little bit about Motorola and the Moto X. That's coming out. It's going to be available for pre-order starting tomorrow on the Moto Maker website. So tomorrow, September 16th. You'll be able to pre-order the AT&T version and also the Pure Edition. The Pure Edition is going to run you $4.99. It's going to have no carrier bloatware, unlock bootloader, SIM unlock, so you can put it on any probably GSM carrier, probably even CDMA. I'm not sure how they're doing that specifically, but $4.99. If you've got a valid .edu email address, you can save an additional $50. So head over there, get you a custom leather back, custom wood back if you so choose for those two designs. They bumped up the screen size to 5.2 inches, I believe, and went with a 1080p display. So
really, 5.2.
Yeah. So no more.
720p.
Yeah, 720p. Thank you very much.
Nuts.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest complaints. That, along with the camera got bumped to 13 megapixels.
Well, I think the overall issue with the original Moto X, it was such a well-made phone, but the screen and the camera, I mean, you can't skip out on that.
Right. Yeah. The screen's important because that's the first thing that you see when you see a phone. I mean, a lot of people are kind of upset because Motorola went away from that 4.7-inch display. That's that size.
That size, yeah.
So it's just going to be a matter of will the people that love the original Moto X, are they going to stick with this
I'm a bigger is always better kind of guy.
Yeah.
As dirty as that sounds, I'm serious.
It's like anywhere from 5.5. Those are really nice. Obviously we have 1520 Lumias with 6-inch displays, so it doesn't really get much bigger than that until you go to a tablet.
That's true. That's very true.
So I'm excited to check out the Moto X and we get a chance to get our hands on it. I don't know about you.
So a couple of things. What do you think about the X branding and not doing like an X plus one or like some type of variation?
In a way, I'm kind of glad that they did that instead of something plus one or something plus, because it's like everybody wants to go with this one or plus, and like I'm kind of glad that they just did this. It's not Moto X squared, which would have been the only thing I could have thought of coming up with a name. Because it would be the second one, So
with an exponent of 2, that would have been cool. The Moto X with an exponent of 2.
Right. So no, whenever we get a chance, we're gonna definitely be talking about it some more.
Well, and the reason why we bring this up to inform you guys, because that's what we do here, is we're looking at the next generation or the next wave of products that are going to be coming from the Android operating system.
Yes.
We've heard about what's called the Android One version, and I think Moto does a really good job getting as closest as they can to what Google wants from
a pure Android experience.
A pure Android experience, and I think a lot of people should think about that when they're going out there and getting maybe an LG G3 or a Samsung Galaxy S5 and or a Samsung Galaxy New Note. I think that they should keep those things in mind because that's a skinned version, meaning a different theme on top of those, and that can be really confusing.
Yes.
And I think that that if, especially from a programming standpoint, I'm kind of building off of what our guest was talking about. From a programming standpoint, this ubiquity that Apple has is really nice as far as a programming experience, and to have different skins and all this kind of stuff for normal people. is a little bit frustrating and hard to
it can cause
wrap your head
some
around.
really unnecessary issues.
Exactly.
I mean, it's nice to have your own additional software as long as it's an app, but it's not, completely taking over the device.
Right, and just a question for you is, how do you see this shaking out? Because it says that it's going to become an unlocked. So do you see this as the first of many phones we're going to be seeing that come out unlocked that are not carrier specific?
Well, I mean, when the president signed that within the last month or so about allowing carriers, you're able to unlock your devices again, and obviously the public, that's what they wanted. They want to be able to, if for example you move and you were in an area that had great T-Mobile service, but your GSM phone, you move to another area that doesn't have good T-Mobile, you could unlock that device and be able to use it on AT&T if AT&T is strong in that area, and of course vice versa. I think it's great releasing unlocked devices. Prepaid is such a big movement right now. A lot of people
I'm using it.
Prepaid. Yeah, so I think unlocked devices are just the way to go, as long as they're not, extremely, overpriced. Oh, you're paying $800 for an unlocked device. Example meaning, for example, you buy the AT&T version for $600, but an unlocked version would be $700. I think it should just be the standard.
Sure.
Whatever retail price of the device on any carrier should be the same. You shouldn't have to pay more for being unlocked or SIM unlocked, unlocked bootloaders,
well,
etc.
it's interesting because these things are becoming personal computers, so PCs. So if you think about going out and buying, say you go out and buy a laptop, right, whether it be a MacBook or a Windows operating or a Chromebook, could you see it being locked down to like one internet provider?
Oh God, that would be terrible.
Well, but that's what I'm getting at. It's like these things are
Essentially
literally people's new PCs. I mean, they're with them all the time.
It's as mobile a computer as you can get.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think the price difference, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, is the radio chipsets that are in there. So that would make up
the additional hardware.
Yeah. So the next thing that I wanted to touch on for the show was, unless you wanted to keep talking about the Moto X.
No, the other thing.
Then you wanted to keep talking about.
Kind of boils down to all these different customizations. Leather backs, wood backs. I think it's all neat. I'm curious to see how the leather backing will hold up over wear and tear. 'Cause, I mean, you scuff it, scrape it.
Sure.
But I mean, they're using a premium leather service, which I can't remember, but they're based in Chicago and they're real close with Motorola. It's a really well-known leather brand. Sure.
So is the wood a real wood, or is it?
Just like bamboo, just like the original Moto X.
But it's bamboo.
Well, you've got bamboo. There's a few different
variations.
Flavors.
Yeah. So real quick about the cam, they're on the back. They say that they've improved the camera quality, and the flash. The flash is actually a circle around the camera.
All right. There's like 2 different LEDs, but it's like in a circle just for the whole design. So you got a circular flash.
That's awkward.
It is. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. Looking forward to testing it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So next up, really what I wanted to talk about was what we do on the show is we try to inform. So we're going to try to inform you now. If you're using an Apple iPhone, if you're using a Google Android phone, if you're using a Windows phone, all of those phones automatically have features that set up what's called a backup or backup to storage to some type of drive, or what that means is some cloud computer. Now, these cloud computers aren't in the clouds, they're on the ground, and they're in facilities. And those facilities are all over the world. The reason why I bring this up is with the recent iCloud hack of these celebrities, nude photos that have come out. And, I haven't had a chance to look at them, so I don't know how awesome they are. But I'm sure there's guys and gals in there. Both.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it was a big thing on Reddit, and Reddit's now backtracking because that's where pretty much everybody was getting.
Oh, really?
It was Reddit and 4chan, sites like that.
That's not what you want.
No, that's not what you want your site associated with.
Right. So the reason why I bring this up is let's talk about the benefits real quick. When you take a picture, why are you taking that picture? Is it usually a selfie? Is it usually a moment that you want to remember?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, typically.
Typically. So these photos, unless you're manually, which I hardly ever see people do, manually uploading those photos to your computer, desktop, PC, whatever, those photos you expect to be saved somewhere, like on the phone or whatever, but more particularly they're being saved in the cloud, which is a server on the ground somewhere in the world. It's like where in the world is your server.
Right.
So those can be hacked into. So as we talk about informing you of this, that's fine if you're okay with doing that, but you should be aware that when you take those photos, they're no longer private.
Right.
They're not a private photograph. So if they're of your child, if there are of intimate moments, like I said, intimate moments, then they're being saved in locations that are beyond your control to protect.
Right.
Regardless of how many passwords you put on there.
Right. And speaking of passwords, if you're going to be taking photos like that were that they didn't want released, you better make sure your passwords are strong. I mean, not the name of your cat, not something simple that people can easily guess, because there's people out there that's all they do is just sit there, password, 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 until they find the right thing. I mean, if you put enough information out there about yourself, people can kind of figure out what kind of password you're going to go with. And then, of course, if you use the same password across multiple sites, well, you're just really opening yourself up to a whole big headache.
And usernames. Also, make sure you variate your usernames, because usernames are sometimes associated with your email address, and if they know what your email address is because you give it out all the time or whatever, then your password's the next thing they go after.
Right.
So just want to let you know that. But let's talk about it. So iCloud is for Apple, OneDrive is for Microsoft, Google Drive is for obviously Google and Android. The benefits is your photos are automatically backed up and saved, so if you lose your phone, you can still have access to those photos, or your phone stops working and or whatever.
Stolen, etc.
They're all saved. Here's the downsides. If you don't backup meaning if you don't take those photos and manually drag and drop those into a physical hard drive that you have, then you have the potential of losing every single one of those photos. Now, the reason why that's important is recently I know of someone's account that was hacked, and I'm not going to say exactly who it was or what system they were using, but what happened is their account was hacked and they lost every single photo they'd ever taken on their device, and from a particular time to so for the last couple of years, all of those intimate moments, all of those moments that they wanted to capture with their phone and their stuff, all those pictures were wiped out.
Ouch.
So I said, well, did you back them up? And they're like, back them up.
Right. That's what my cloud was.
That's
for.
what my cloud does. No.
Right.
So what I want to say to everyone here, please have a backup solution. And the reason why I say that is backup solution meaning every once in a while. So get into a habit, maybe once a month. I mean, come on, guys. We can find time to do this stuff. Just take all the photos that you have from a certain date to another. So if it's monthly, so the first of the month to the 30th, or 31st, whatever month that it is, or the 28th if it's on February. Drag and drop those photos into a hard drive or some type of backup. Now there are online backup solutions. So you do some research on that and find those ways to back up your stuff. Kevin, any word?
Yeah, I would just like I like to tell people, if it's important to you, make sure it's backed up in more than one place. Cloud storage can be one,
right?
And physical place that's like right there with you, whether it's on your computer, you can put it on your computer and also put it on an external hard drive, whatever. Just make sure you've got it at least in two spots, and obviously, again, make sure your passwords are secure. Strong passwords.
Strong passwords,
right.
He says. And also, I just wanted to let you know of Dropbox. That's another one, and that's popular. Kind of with
Dropbox, Copy.com, I think Box.com.
Box.com.
There's a lot of them out there that are available that are pretty secure. Copy.com is by Barracuda Networks, which is very strong for internet and network security. So they're well known for that.
Awesome. So why don't we go ahead and get into the next story, which is the mobile ecosystems. Now, technology should not be difficult to use insofar as if you want to do something, so I want to do something, I should be able to do that something with the most minimal effort.
Right. So what's something you want to do?
What is something I want to do? I want to get some music.
All right.
All right. So what if I had an Android phone and a Windows laptop? Because I see that a lot.
Right.
You know, we see that a lot when we're out and about. So I'm not, you know, Android's what, like damn near or darn near close to 50% of the.
Yeah, they've got a huge market share.
Or even, I'm sorry, okay, so even if it was an Apple iPhone and a Windows laptop, well, we see that a lot too, because you know it's what people can afford. That's the 4S. Please, guys, if you're on a 4S,
stop. Time to bump it up.
Time to bump it up.
Don't even think about putting that iOS 8 on that 4S.
I know, because it works terrible. So, how would I go about doing that? How do a normal person? And guys, if you think you're too smart for this sort of thing, you are. I'm sorry, but the reason why I bring this up is, say I wanted that music, right?
So I mean, going with the iPhone and Windows laptop experience, their scenario, you got your choice. You know, you can buy your music on iTunes. You can also sync that with iTunes on your computer, which on Windows is just not the greatest experience whatsoever. And then, I mean, you can also take your personal CD collection and also drag that over to your iPhone. There's multiple ways, but once you purchase those songs on iTunes, you are officially invested into the Apple ecosystem, iTunes, iPhones, etc. So they're, typically then the person is going to next step. If they're looking for a tablet, they're going to want to get an iPad so they can seamlessly access their music on multiple devices then.
Right.
Until they get the money to buy a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air.
Sure.
So that's kind of the example of being in an ecosystem, and it's the same way with Android, because you've got the Google Play Store where you can buy music and movies and games and apps and all kinds of stuff. So then once you spent so much money, you're like, well, I've got to stay with Android because I've spent so much money and all my stuff's here. Then of course you got Amazon. And Amazon's coming out with their own ecosystem with Kindle books and Amazon Music and Amazon streaming video. So they've got a Kindle Fire. They've got the Fire phone, the Amazon Fire tablets, and.
All right, so sorry, I'm gonna have to stop
okay.
you. You were really reaching there for a second.
I know.
So no, but my point is that, so having said all that, which if you haven't fallen asleep, God bless you. The whole point of this is to say people are in multiple ecosystems. If I want to do something, so if I want to get a piece of music and I'm using an Apple iPhone, and I'm pulling down that music and then I'm listening to that, and then say I have a Kindle and I want to read books on my Kindle, people are starting to really diversify where they're at. They're all over the place. I always suggest that to people to find one that works for you and just stick with it.
Right.
It's way easier, and it's like being used to a tool and using that tool to accomplish your task.
Exactly.
Now they're going to change on it a little bit. The maker or whatever. You may need to replace a part or two.
Right.
If we're going with this tool theme here, and you're going to need to kind of get used to it, but it's not going to be crazy different. So if I had a suggestion to people, it would be to move into something that you're going to use. So if you didn't already know this, if you have an iPhone, you can download the Kindle app and read books on your phone.
Right. And
with the new sizes that are coming out, it's going to be more attractive.
Right.
Because now with the new sizes of the phones, they're going to be bigger. They're going to be, and they're going to have a little bit more battery life, or at least they should. So you can have an app that delivers you the same content as if you were to have, say, maybe a Kindle. Maybe it's not awesome to read outdoors, but whatever. You can make this sacrifice, if you will, to streamline the process, because that's what it's all about. If you look at some data, most people spend more time trying to figure out how to use their equipment than they do actually enjoying the benefits of having that equipment. Right. So what I'm speaking to is, if you can, remember that if you buy a product, so say it's a laptop, make sure to remember that you can get most of and they may not be awesome experiences, but you can get the Kindle app on those products.
You can download the Kindle
So
software.
if it's an Android, if it's a Windows phone, if it's an Apple, you can have all of that still there. Now, you might not have Kindle-specific things or Amazon-specific things, but you can still have those services. And they're coming in the future. I mean, we know that recently Amazon just released their instant video, correct? For
Android.
Android.
It's been available on iOS for the longest time, but now you can actually stream. You know, if you're a member of Amazon Prime, you got that instant streaming. Yeah, now you can do it on your Amazon or your Android phones.
Right. So the point here is to drive home, is to make sure that everybody understands that there is an ecosystem. And what I mean by ecosystem is that there's a store in the center, and then there's lines that come across from that store to a particular device. Mm-hmm. So I would just say, if you like a service, go with that service and then build and iterate on top of that and figure out what works for you. And don't be afraid to be overwhelmed, and say, well, this is easier. I can just buy a device. No. That's not always the easiest path. Try to hone it down to using one device that fits all your needs, as opposed to tons of devices that fits a few of your needs. Because that's going to save money for you in the long run.
Yeah, it's going to save money for you to buy more great content that you want to listen to or read or watch.
Right. So. And then if you ever need help having that stuff explained to you, you can always hit us up, and we will
gladly do our best to help you out.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have an Amazon TV. Yes. We've got the Chromecast rocking around. We've got all sorts of devices. We're the tech guys.
Right.
So we know what's up and what's down and what's side.
That is true. Yep, hit us up.
Hit us up, for sure. So, Kevin, with that, was there anything that you wanted to add to the end of this wonderful episode?
No, just, thank everybody for their support of the show. If anybody's interested in advertising, being a sponsor of the show, we're looking for some sponsors. They can always contact us. Contact at thetechinformist.com.
Perfect.
Hit us up on Twitter, TechInformist, Facebook. There's multiple ways to do it. Just visit us, thetechinformist.com, and take a look at our site. That theme, wonderful theme, Decode, that our guest Scott Smith, helped create.
By the way, totally fangirling a little bit, because Scott said how awesome it was, and he followed me.
Awesome. Look at that. Boom, just like that.
He followed me and said how awesome we were.
Sweet.
We love it.
It's also all within the show.
I know.
Have him on at one part, and there he is doing all the other stuff during the rest of the show.
That's perfect.
Awesome. Great guy, great guest.
We're going to definitely have him on in the future, because I'm sure that he's going to do something awesome. And then we're going to be like, hey, you remember us?
Right.
You need to come back on.
Right. Because, we remember you when.
Yeah, I know. We're stalkers now. I need to quit saying that, because I think
people are going to start thinking you're creepy.
Yeah, I'm creepy or something. I'm not creepy, man. I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm down. Plus, there's a show coming out called Stalkers, so that I don't really want to associate myself with that. Yeah. All right, anyway, so again, thank you to our fans. If you want to, like I said, comment or contribute, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Tech Informist. I think that's the most important. And thank you to our guest, Scott Smith, again. So from the entire crew, consider yourself informed.
We're out.